Hi, my name is Bob Kane, and I am doing this because I am tired. I am tired of seeing all this X-Men stuff not being good. I just recently rewatched the entire Fox X-Men trilogy, and I was surprised. I haven't watched X-Men trilogy in 2 years, and I was surprised. I still hate The Last Stand, and it is horrible. But I was surprised by X-Men 1 and 2. It was actually not as I remembered. It was great, especially the first one. First one is always underrated, but it's actually great. I really liked X-Men 1, but I would do things differently. And to rewrite this entire X-Men cinematic universe, I have to change the first film so that my new continuity, the new slate, is prepared. This is what I have. So, let this rewrite begin.
Mutation. It is the key to our evolution. It has enabled us to evolve from a single-celled organism into the dominant species on the planet. This process is slow, normally taking thousands and thousands of years. But every few hundred millennia, evolution leaps forward.
And that is the intro for my X-Men movie. So I can't wait to talk about this rewrite and see what I have planned. So here is my X-Men rewrite. As you can see, I made this rewrite because I was tired of the X-Men trilogy. Not actually the X-Men trilogy, the X-Men franchise. Cyclops was bad, Magneto got worse, Professor X became worse, Storm got less screen time, Wolverine got more cooler. I love Wolverine. I love him. I always loved him as a character. He's cool. But he shouldn't be the main X-Men if he has his solo films. He needs to get sidelined. But he may be the main character in upcoming movies. Probably X2 or Days of Future Past. Who knows? Anyways, let this rewrite begin. And enough of me talking. It is time for Act 1 to begin.
Act 1. Opening credits 20th Century Fox Marvel Entertainment and Company. X-Men opening credits. 1. Professor Charles Xavier delivers a passionate speech about the evolution of mutants and their rights to Senator Kelly in the Supreme Court. He emphasizes the importance of understanding and accepting mutants as equals, as they are not a threat to humanity but rather a crucial part of its evolution. 2. As Professor X finishes his speech, he senses a growing unrest among the mutant population, fueled by the recent rise in anti-mutant sentiment. He becomes increasingly concerned for the safety of his students and the world at large. 3. Meanwhile, Eric Lanzaire, also known as Magneto, learns of Professor X's speech. Enraged by the discrimination and persecution of mutants, he vows to destroy mankind and create a world where mutants rule supreme. 4. In Canada, a young mutant named Rogue discovers her powers for the first time. In a moment of panic, she accidentally kills a boy with whom she shares a kiss, realizing the true extent of her abilities. Overwhelmed with guilt, she decides to travel to Montreal, hoping to find answers and control her powers. Act 2. 1. In Montreal, Rogue meets a rugged mutant named Logan, also known as Wolverine. They bond over their shared experiences of loss and the struggle to control their powers. And Logan questions his 15 years of pain and self-harm of discovering his past. 2. Logan takes Rogue to a local bar, where they share stories and form a connection. As they leave the bar, Logan offers to drive Rogue to her destination, the Xavier School for Gifted Youngsters. 3. Upon arriving in New York, Logan drops off Rogue at her destination and meets Scott Summers, also known as Cyclops, and or Monroe, also known as Storm. The two mutants quickly develop a rivalry, with Scott's confident and leadership skills clashing with Logan's more brutal and cynical nature. 4. Professor X, recognizing Logan's potential, starts training him to become an X-Man. Meanwhile, Scott grows jealous of Logan's close relationship with Jean Grey, especially Logan's flirtation and the trust that Professor X has placed in him. 5. Professor X teaches Logan about Servo and its power, and Scott and Jean become more close, and Scott promises Jean that we will protect the X-Men, and she states that Logan may be the cool bad boy, but I like the good boy with the glasses. Later, Scott, Blaze, and Logan they get in a fight until Logan is beaten up. Jean saves him and is disappointed in Scott. Act 3. 1. As Magneto, along with Toad, Avalanche, Sabretooth, and Mystique, kills Senator Kelly and unleashes a devastating attack on New York, Professor X assembles his team of mutants: Cyclops, Jean Grey, Storm, Wolverine, and Rogue. 2. As the team battles their enemies, they learn to trust and respect one another, overcoming their initial differences. Logan and Scott, in particular, find common ground and develop a strong bond. And Logan apologizes to Scott and promises trust and respect, and even says, "I will never be a good leader, Cyclops." 3. With New York at stake, the X-Men confront Magneto and his allies in an epic showdown. Despite the odds, Storm destroys Toad, Mystique escapes Jean Grey and Maleficent, and Sabretooth dies. Logan and Scott joke, and Logan saves Rouge from Magneto. Cyclops uses an epic blast to stop Magneto, and the machine is destroyed. They emerge victorious, saving the city and proving that mutants can be a force for good. 4. The X-Men's success inspires hope in the mutant community and brings them one step closer to achieving acceptance and equality. With newfound purpose and unity, they continue their mission to protect both mutants and humanity from those who would seek to destroy them. Logan leaves to find out his past, stealing Scott motorcycle, and Professor X and Scott joke, and Bobby aka Iceman and Rouge fall in love. The end. End credits scene. Magneto emerges from the ocean, covers in mud, and his helmet is destroyed as he screams.
The reason I decided to rewrite X-Men, and I know I said this earlier to fit with the X-Men cinematic universe, but if I said X-Men was so good, why did I rewrite it? Because 1, I loved Logan and Rogue's relationship in the original movie, and I wish Marvel movies still done that, especially this takes place 24 years later. But it was really good, and I wanted to expand it on that. This movie shouldn't be 1 hour and 44 minutes. It should be 1 hour and 58 minutes. I wanted to have more screen time. I also wanted to change something. Magneto shouldn't be turning people into mutants. Magneto should be destroying humanity. Why? I understand Magneto wants humans to be like them, but Magneto's powers is to control metal and manipulate metal. Why would he need to turn humans into mutants when his power isn't even capable to do that? I know they're gonna say Rogue, but even Rogue's power, even though she's absorbing that, the technology is too advanced and too modern for the time. It seems like something they would make in 2029. Especially to reach all of humanity, even New York. It was never gonna work. But a machine to destroy humanity is more fitting with Magneto's supremacy. And he tries to do that in X-Men 3 and 2 anyway, especially X2. So, who cares? Also, Cyclops is totally underrated. People talk about Cyclops, they either talk about the media comics or the media shows, mostly animated. When they talk about the movies, they said, "Oh yeah, I liked him in X-Men 1." I like this cameo in Days of Future Past. Cyclops? You mean that guy from Ready Player One? No. Where's James Marsden's support? I know people love Wolverine. He's the Iron Man. But even though Iron Man was the greatest of his universe, he didn't even get that much screen time. What I mean by screen time is he wasn't the center of the whole universe all the time. Every X-Men movie is always Wolverine, Wolverine, Wolverine. All his movies, it's Wolverine kicks ass, Wolverine. Especially with his healing powers and his adamantium claws. He's so OP. There is no stakes with him. You can't do stakes with him. With Cyclops, there is stakes. Not only does he not have healing powers and knives for hands, he could also die. And laser eyes isn't that irrelevant. Or whatever you like to call it. So, yeah. I also liked Logan and Jean's relationship in the movies. I wouldn't have it the way it ends up, but I like this rivalry. Anyways, I love Scott and Wolverine's relationship. That was the surprise of X-Men 2000. And I want to keep going on that. And it's funny. I should have a funny Sabretooth fight scene. Sabretooth should have had more screen time, and I would make that have more screen time. And I want Scott and Wolverine to start to trust each other, because it will implement their relationship in the future movies. And at the end, we should have Bobby and Rogue's relationship at the end. We would have him at the beginning, like that scene in the school with Pyro and Bobby and Rogue, when Rogue meets Bobby. But in the middle, I would have at the end the relationship beginning, because we should have a comic relief at the end, and I feel like Bobby could be our comic relief X-Men. And yeah, also remember, Mystique kills Senator Kelly, not the rest of the mutants, a Brotherhood of Evil Mutants. Just to play, just to remember that, because that might come into play in future movies, in future rewrites, I should say, of the past. Future past. Because we'll go back with the days of the future past. We will see. Anyways, this is my rewrite of X-Men 2000. And it's an alternative take of what I would have done with the X-Men franchise. Because remember, the X-Men are really funny characters and really have potential to be something great. The Fox X-Men never even touched on Mr. Sinister, and even when they tried to do it, that movie, Apocalypse, disaster. But this is an alternative history. Not that far away, there's some similarities. But this is an alternative history of what I would have done with the X-Men. Because I like it. I love this franchise. And I want to see it succeed. But to see the X-Men succeed, we have to do something about it. Anyways, I'm done talking.